Day 3 of my look at the Playmates Dinozords, and today we are looking at the other dinosaur in the Dinozords, the Triceratops. No, I'm never not going to harp on that. That is still one of the most ridiculous things we have done with these. So, the second of the 5 Dinozords that is actually a dinosaur, the Triceratops, is going to be a bit of a challenge for today's video. As you've noticed, I've managed to get all of these Toycember reviews of these toys up to like 9 minutes or so, which is a lot of stretching in order to get to that point. But the fact is, this is really just a blue plastic brick. Once again, I have to make the comparison to those big vinyl dinosaur toys that are so common that also have just as much play value, though they did put a little bit more into this one. So, you're looking at something that is primarily in blue plastic, obviously, but we do have some light gray plastic mixing in as well. That would be the horns, and that would be the tail. Everything else you see is a mix of sticker and paint. The treads, for instance, along the sides, which are nicely sculpted, so I will give a credit there, that is all paint. The emblem on the side, that is sticker. That is also sticker. The tread, again, paint. If we take a look at the head, all right, the yellow mark, that is sticker. And then all of the gray, including all that trim around the actual frill of the head, that is all paint. And obviously, the eyes are paint as well. I'm not sure how I feel about this. Yeah, the white outline is definitely more accurate, but I don't know how I feel about the little beady red eye. It just feels a little bit odd, especially from a distance. From a distance, I don't think it looks all that great. But the head sculpt isn't bad. I like the groove lines going through it. I like how heavy some of those grooves are as they swoop back. Yeah, it's not a bad look. It looks like the Triceratops. What can I say? Now, as far as actually what you can do with this, well, it looks okay. Yeah, as an independent toy, it really doesn't really offer a whole lot. They do try. There's no playability to it as a action figure or anything. You can tilt the head, which is completely incidental, because it is the ankle articulation for the Megazord mode, or what accounts for a ankle tilt. So you have that at the very least. So you can make it slightly expressive. And that's something the original toy couldn't do. But something the toy could originally do was roll. There are no wheels on the underside of the Triceratops. Now, this would be fine, because I imagine not a lot of you rolled your Triceratops around, but I will point out, this entire set has a tank mode. A tank mode that now we know will not be able to roll. And that's just a little bit disappointing to me, because that's the only thing the tank mode can do is roll. Well, no, not this one. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and show you the comparison to the original, so you can judge for yourself how things turned out. So you can see we're looking at a richer shade of blue than the original toy had. You got more accurate stickers to the original show. The big change here, I believe, aside from just the size of the new one, is the chrome of the horns. See, this is where I give the new one a little bit more credit. You can see where the hollowed out chrome is for the original toy. Not so here, completely solid. Also, these are hard attached, whereas the original Triceratops, these are just pegged in, as they were separate parts you had to put on after you got it out of the box. And I actually prefer this, because these horns are some of the most easily and most frequently lost on the original Megazord. So the fact that I can't really lose these except to a very reckless kid swinging around by the tail does mean a lot. Speaking of the tail, there are some changes there. For instance, we actually can tilt the tail now. There is actually a bend to it for some reason, which I guess is just to mount it like this, which is actually, I believe, more accurate to how the Triceratops used its tail gun in the show. So I'll give it credit. The original can't do that, but the original also has a correctly colored set of blaster barrels. That is because we have now included a firing missile gimmick into the Triceratops Dinozord, in what I can only assume is an attempt to give it some level of playability and thus justify selling it as its own original toy. This is weird. So it does fire when you hit the gray piece, and it does launch pretty good. That's actually a pretty powerful spring. My issue with it is that it's not just a missile sticking out of the tail, it is the tip of the tail. It is the piece that's supposed to be chrome. So when you actually have it in like leg mode for the Tyrannosaurus, or the Megazord mode, when you connect it to the Tyrannosaurus, it just kind of blends in with the rest of the blue, and it doesn't look correct, which is frustrating. It's like that color, the gray and the silver, should go all the way through. It shouldn't stop there because they decided that the missile needed to be blue for some reason. If this was gray, this would be fine, but it just feels weird now. And speaking of feeling weird, I will say you can definitely tell this is a cheaper toy because like it feels very hollow. Okay, but we can connect it onto the tank and call this review done. So there's really nothing to this. I'm going to fold the tail all the way down like so. Then we'll bring in the big boy, and we'll go ahead and just connect it into place. So there's nothing preventing you from swapping which of the Dinozords are on either leg, which is why the Triceratops head can tilt in either direction. So just in case you're one of those that preferred it in the incorrect order, or if you just can't ever remember, yeah, that's going to be fine for you. But yeah, that is it. No way I can get this to 9 minutes because there really isn't any real toy to talk about here. The fact that this is sold individually is kind of absurd, but that's just kind of how it ends up. So join me tomorrow. You'll never guess what the next one is. We'll talk about something that could potentially be at least a little bit better. So I'll see you then.
Hello everyone, I am Astral Agent Magnetar, a Tokusatsu VTuber, and I am streaming 4 times a week over on Twitch, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons, and a special late night one on late Friday/early Saturday. So come watch, come hang out, and let's make an impact together.